What is the stupidest thing you thought as a child? Not me, but my son. He didn't want us to get a new TV because he liked the shows on the old one. To be fair, my parents have said similar things about their computer and email. I love that logic. I couldn't fathom how thermoses worked. People told me that they keep hot things hot, and cold things cold, but I was like, how in the duck does it know whether the thing inside it is hot or cold so as to keep it that way? Took me many a year to figure that out. I used to believe I could save up my hots and my colds to use them later. For example, if it was really hot outside, I would whisper, save up all these hots, then when I would get cold, I would summon the extra hots by whispering, give me all my hots, and it was supposed to make me warmer. To be fair, that is some pretty decent kid logic. I noticed that I was able to jump off of the playground and land on my feet and be perfectly fine. So my child mind immediately decided I was a superhero and could land from any height and be perfectly fine. I went to my friend's house, jumped off his roof, and the next thing I remember is crying until my mom picked me up. I thought so too, but I jumped out of the back of a moving vehicle because I saw one of my friends and my parents didn't stop the truck. It didn't go so well. When I was 3 or 4, I asked my dad where babies come from. Monsieur, I got whole sperm egg baby, which made some kind of sense. Then I asked where the sperm comes from, and he said it comes from the daddy's penis. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I stopped asking questions there, and had a mental picture of my dad peeing through a tea strainer and catching a little flopping tadpole, which he would then stuff into my mom's vagina. It took a few years before I was disabused of that notion, probably on the playground at school. I too was told the basics at a very young age, but I had absolutely no concept of sex. So I just imagined my parents mixing all this stuff up in a sink to make a baby. Greater than a mental picture of my dad peeing through a tea strainer and catching a little flopping tadpole, which he would then stuff into my mom's vagina. What even is the appropriate response to something like this? That would be a nice middle step that would diffuse a lot of the issues of today. I thought that anytime any woman went to the hospital, it was to have a baby. My 98-year-old great-grandmother was in the hospital and all I wanted to know is when the baby was gonna get here. This is really common with young kids. I think they are shown hospitals as the place where babies are born, instead of the place where sick, hurt people go, to make them less afraid. That by mixing chocolate and vanilla I could make caramel. The reality is so much easier. 2. Literally just cook sugar for a while. Kid or adult, though, be mindful not to burn yourself. Caramel, melted sugar, is way above water boiling temp when cooking, so can give very nasty burns. Aha, lelo. That if 2 artists made a song together it must mean they are a couple. I thought Donnie and Marie were a married couple for so long, found out they were siblings and was like EWWWW, but they're married. I thought that every song that played on the radio was being performed somewhere live, and when you turned up the volume the singer would sing louder at his per venue. Oh, this but double for me because my grandfather was a radio presenter when I was a kid. So I'd hear my papa on the radio and know he was in a room somewhere. I thought there was a band there with him cranking out the hits. It didn't help that in true grandfather style he encouraged the belief that would be super complicated, but I get how you would think that. Same with sitcoms filmed in front of a live studio audience. I was watching a live performance each night. Sex was just making out with no clothes on. I feel like we all thought this at one point. I met someone who thought sleeping together literally just meant sleeping in the same bed, and freaked out that she would get pregnant when on a school trip they required people to share beds. She was 14. Everyone on the trip was a girl. This is why sex ed is important. Now hang on a sec. I thought it was being on each other naked, skeptical smiley face. There was a Skittles commercial where they put some Skittles in the ground and they grew into a Skittles tree. I tried growing a Skittles tree at the park for about 3 years before my family moved. I had seen photos of some sperm cells and thought that their shape was pretty similar to a DCK head gland's penis. This made me think that the DCK head is a sperm cell and every man has one sperm cell at a time. Whenever you have asexual intercourse, the DCK head just passes into the woman and your penis is left there without a head. I had a similar notion that each testicle represented one child, i.e. 2 kids and a guy was done. Seems I didn't think too deeply about the implications of families with 3 kids. I think I was a low wattage bulb. This brings back weird memories of when I was in elementary school and got into an argument with a girl over whether girls had penises or vaginas. Could happen if they had leprosy. Our cursed comments. I used to think that the money offering collected at church would be put into a huge cannon to be shot up to heaven for Jesus. I thought the preacher burned it every Sunday evening and the smoke carried it up to God. When I was a kid, I thought ice cream sandwiches were literally 2 pieces of bread with ice cream in the middle. I really wanted one. I went to ask my mom if I could have one while she was napping and she half-consciously said we didn't have any. I said, "That's okay, I'll make one." She said nothing. I quickly learned ice cream sandwiches were not, in fact, 2 pieces of white bread with a spoonful of vanilla ice cream in the middle. I was told that God lived up in the sky. For some reason, the highest thing I could imagine was the pipe sticking out of the neighbor's roof. So I thought God lived in the pipe. I have a friend who teaches. A kid asked her when they give money at church, how does the church get it to God? My friend jokingly said they tie it to a balloon and let it float up to heaven. The kid said he was going to ask her pastor if she could watch next time they did it. My friend teaches high school juniors. I asked my preacher where the collection money went and he simply replied, "It goes back to God," so I thought that he would burn the money after every church service, and the smoke carried it back up to God. Sometime around age 11 I heard about strap-ons, but I never saw a photo and was confused as to what they were or how they worked. My assumption was that it was a dildo, but instead of going outward I thought it went in. I thought women were walking around with a dildo inside of them while just shopping or whatever. For a few years whenever I saw a woman in public smiling I thought that maybe they had a dildo strapped in. Here. They make those too, they're just called something different. That the eject button on my dad's car would send me flying through the roof. Now I imagine a dad doing that when he has gotten enough of the kid, just push a button and send him off the roof. I thought that "do not pass" or "no passing" signs on the side of the road meant you couldn't pass that sign. I thought people died by blowing the candles on their 100 years party. I just thought that people died when they turned 100. My mom knew this person who was either 98 or 99, and so I said, "So she's either going to be 99 or she's going to die," and my mom agreed. This is really kind of haunting yet sweet. I support it. I am sure this is pretty common, but I used to think before color TV everything was black and white. I remember as a child asking my nan what it was like when they saw color for the first time. Asking mine that question would result in a racist tirade. Calvin's dad explains color. When we were little, my twin sister was convinced that chicken, beef, etc. was produced by vacuuming the meat out of the living animal. The animal would then walk around all wobbly and meatless until more meat grew back. This one makes me laugh at the idea of the wobbly animals. My stepdad told me if I ate too much chicken I would have feathers under my arms like grandma. Totally bought it. Monsieur, your grandma has feathers under her arms. Well, I thought for years the Smurfs were green. We lived in communist Poland and our once color TV turned into a mostly green, white TV over time. I was shocked, and a teenager, when I realized the Lil Duckers are a different color. Thank you for watching. Comment overcome if you have reached this far into the video. Have a good day.